So I want to talk about what are the disadvantages of an executive doctorate in business. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Maslach. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out. So these are worries that I have about executive doctorate of businesses. I know that there's, I've done some videos on sort of advantages and things like that, but these are just worries that I generally have in terms of what they do. And, I worry because there is a lot of businesses or institutions that are available that might not necessarily net you the benefit that you'd always want, right? So you have to be really careful with these things because they are a lot of money. Anything that deals with executive stuff tends to be a lot of money, and you have to be very careful in terms of what you're getting. So you have to be, I just want you to be ready for this, right? I don't want you to get to the moment where you're like, oh, I'm just doing this thing and not really taking it seriously. So, the first thing is to realize, and I want you to look around, look at different institutions where you're thinking that you want to teach or do research, and look at how difficult it actually is to get a tenure-track job at those universities. They tend to be really good universities. They tend to be just from a select group of institutions. There's kind of it's almost clubby in terms of what ends up happening. So from, the top tier institutions, they end up just recruiting, PhDs more or less. The executive doctorate, not so much. So just PhDs from a select group of people or a group of institutions. And then there's another tier below that, or whatever you could sort of imagine that. And then they're recruiting from those, that group. And then there's probably a third and fourth tier and all that kind of stuff. But you can see that there's kind of a sorting that happens. And just look at if you want to work at, Virginia, University of Virginia, look to see at where those PhDs are coming from and get a sense of what they're doing. That's what I want you to do, is to look to see, look at where they're getting their PhD from or their doctorate from, and sort of get a sense of what you want to do. So if you want to work at a community college, look to see at what they're doing. And even if they have a doctorate, a lot of them are not going to have a doctorate, and that is okay as well. So it's going to cost you an awful lot of money to do that. So that's the second thing that I want you to be well aware of. They're really expensive, right? Really, really expensive. And you have to see what the value is from actually getting that doctorate. And you really have to know what you're doing it for, right? Before you actually jump into it, really think about, is this for me? And think about, what do I want to do and accomplish with that? And sort of plan it out before you actually go and do it. Because it's going to cost you a tremendous amount of money. And I just don't want you to be hurt at the end of it, because it is an uncertain degree, in the sense that you don't know what the outcomes are going to be once you're done, because there is a lot of risk associated with getting these kind of degrees. There really is. The third thing is thinking about, weighing the sacrifice of actually how much time and effort it's going to take versus the current life that you actually have, right? So is, advice that I basically gave my sister many years ago, and she sort of thanks me for getting her to think about that, and just really think about how much sacrifice it's actually going to take. And it's a lot more than you ever think, and it's going to be a lot tougher than you ever think. It always is, right? Don't get delusioned. Just look at your past life, at how hard it was to get a degree, or how hard it was to do a big project, whatever. Look at your past life and sort of get a sense of how you deal with that and what you think about it. And it's going to take a lot of sacrifice to do it. It might be absolutely worth it, but you have to, weigh that sacrifice before you jump into it and what it's actually going to take. And, if they tell you it's going to take 3 or 4 years, don't believe it. It's probably going to take you a little longer. Everything always takes a lot longer, and you think it's going to be just like if you do a PhD in a good institution, it takes a lot longer. They're going to tell you 4. but that's not true. It's probably, by the time you actually get out, it's probably going to be 5.5, or something along those lines. So just, have a realistic view of what that is. Look at the norms. Look at what people are actually doing, and really get that information, right? Like, get that information, and like, look at what really real people are doing. Don't go by the marketing material, is what I'm saying. They're marketing to you. Remember that. The fourth thing is that in executive doctorates, even though that they're becoming more popular, and there's, a lot of them that are sort of popping up at different, institutions, they're still unusual. And so they might not be as recognized as a PhD or an MBA, right? So it's kind of in that middle ground. And people just don't really, so if you're going to do an executive doctorate in another country, they're somewhat popular in Europe, from what I understand, somewhat popular in America, somewhat. But if you're going to do it in Canada, I don't know. I think there might be a couple of institutions that are doing it there, and just kind of recognize that they're they're kind of in an odd situation, so it's hard to sort of position them. And it's not about you, it's not about the program. The program could be absolutely amazing, but it's about that sort of what the market perceives you. I've learned this over and over and over again. I mean, the whole reciprocity project, I've learned it so much. It's what the market understands of what you're doing. So that's the important thing. And then the fifth thing, and this is a worry for all PhD programs, all doctorate programs, I just worry about the support that you're going to get, and really question that and where you're going to go, because that support of being able to complete this thing is really, really big, and it's really challenging, really daunting. Anybody that's in this profession is going to tell you it's all about that support. And you're going to know when you don't have it, and you're going to sort of flounder. But and you're going to know when you have it, but it's really tricky to get it, right? Like, super tricky, because everybody wants to, so how academia works, or, this whole thing works, everybody wants to be on your project, but nobody wants to do the work. That's really what happens. And so realize that going into it is, just look for people that are going to be supportive, are going to help you out, and all those kind of things. That's the important thing that you're looking for, and that's super important. So hopefully, these are just my worries, and I just want you to do well and excel. So, I've got no stake in the game currently at my institution. We don't have this program. Do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? No. So just know that this is, just be well aware of some of these things, and really question it. So with that, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care, and have a wonderful day. All right, bye.